So guys, a bit of an introduction. I mean, I'll let Billy do a more formal introduction to himself in a second, but in terms of kind of how we met and why I wanted Billy to come out is, I first met Billy, I don't know, 3-4 years ago at this point.
2018.
2018.
Ages ago.
Through Iman Gadzhi, who obviously lives actually down the road, at a house, I say house party, it was more of like a little casual drinks at his place. And I'd always been, prior to meeting Billy, like interested in health and going to the gym and eating good, but what I didn't realize is there is so much more that you can do in terms of health, optimization, performance, to kind of squeeze every inch of output out of yourself. And what became like very obvious to me was how all of these guys that were just absolutely crushing it, like 7, 8, 9-figure businesses, is they just wanted every possible edge. They just wanted to squeeze every ounce of efficiency out of their body, out of their mind, out of their day, out of their time. And I mean, at the end of the day, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit that we can do in terms of obviously health and increasing our performance. But one thing I don't think is spoken enough or taught enough in the property space, and you've got a lot of these property guys that are great at teaching property, but they're overweight, they're unhealthy, etc. But for all of you in the room that just want to be playing at the highest possible level, what Billy's going to be sharing with you today, this is the powerful stuff that really does move the needle in your business, in your health, and the clients the client roster that you've got and you've had.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can see that here as well.
So
like all these guys prioritize these components and operating very successful businesses. So yeah, we'll dive into it.
Yeah, so over to you, Billy. Thanks for coming.
All right, sweet. No worries, man. Yeah, so first and foremost, like Tyler was saying, the individuals that I work with typically are online education businesses and entrepreneurs. These guys are doing 7-8 figures per year with their business. They're very, very successful. And I was introduced to this premise. I was a personal trainer previously. I was very much introduced to this through Sam Ovens. You guys aware of him? Yeah. So he had Rhett Coots in as personal trainer full time, and I started working with my first big client, which was Iman Gadzhi. And it became very obvious to me that these individuals are taking all components of their health very, very seriously, to the extent where they're meditating for about an hour per day, tracking all components of their sleep, everything like this, right? And therefore I started applying that and putting that together as a service. And as a result, worked with Iman in person for 3 years. Obviously worked with an individual like, do you guys know Bastiaan Slot? Have you guys heard of him? He's in the education space doing $1 million per month for his business. He's 24, so it's not bad going. And the margins on that are pretty good. It's about 800K per month profit, which is pretty decent. Dan Vass doing $1 million per month for his education business as well. He's based in Toronto. That was an e-com education business, so somewhat different, but still a similar premise. Cole Gordon, are you guys aware of him? Big in the education space, doing $2 million a month. He's recently been acquired by acquisition.com, Alex Hormozi's business. So I worked with his CEO, Mitchell Miles, for about 2 years, and then Cole for about 3 to 4 months as well, which is a pretty cool experience.
Zach, you should definitely check out Clogg from sales, like he's crushing in the sales space.
Yeah, sales stuff is sick, and his free content on YouTube is also really great, but it's not got many subscribers and much viewing, but yeah, it's great, it's really good content. If you guys have got any questions about these guys' approaches to life and business as such as well, I can dive into that also, because I've met majority of them in person and spent a lot of time with them. So yeah, if you guys have got any questions on that at all, yeah, we'll dive into that as well. These guys are also doing 500K per month for e-commerce education business. They're based in Toronto also. Marcus Rossetti's doing about 200K per month for his education business. That's info product education business also. Tyler, big man, before his beard grew out so much. That was what, like 2020?
Must have been, yeah.
Yeah, and then that was just like a COVID party, so that was interesting. And then, yeah, these guys, well, Mickelson Twins, they're doing about 3 million per month currently, pretty successful. Agency owners, education businesses, software businesses, all this type of stuff. No one in the real estate space yet, though, so I have to add that to the roster, but yeah, we'll dive into that. And in terms of the components I'll dive into for you guys, I'll keep it fairly simple and straightforward, not particularly complex or high level as such. We'll focus on 6 keys. First and foremost, stop self-sabotaging, and I'll dive into that in its entirety in a second. What's healthy diet? What supplements you should be taking on a daily basis in order to optimize all components of your health, also in correlation with your blood work. The importance of human data over human opinion, sleep being the new coffee, and then finally how to work out to feel good. So how many of you guys would claim yourselves to be healthy individuals or performing at a higher level? Yeah, a couple of you guys? Okay, what are you guys doing to optimize your health currently? We'll go you first, man.
For me, diet is, like I said, my diet's pretty on point.
Yeah.
I'm very motivated in that, and I'm not really attached to sweet foods or anything like that, so it's all all good. Supplements, probably vitamin D.
Yeah.
In England. Vitamin D, cod liver oil. Yeah, or if I'm being really honest, probably going to tell me off. But I did dabble in a bit of the old grenade, the fat stripper stuff, because I just got it and I thought, oh, fuck, that's what happens.
Yeah.
It's doing all right, I guess.
Yeah.
I work out every day, which is silly, so I need to rest, and I know that I've just got a very unhealthy attachment, I guess, to working out. But on one of those days, I do yoga in the gym environment, so I need to get away from the cabin fever and do something different.
Sure.
So we're talking running, probably just once a week, bit of CrossFit once a week, and the rest of it is just lifting weights.
Okay, right, cool.
So pretty intense.
Yeah.
It's more like push-pull kind of exercises.
Okay, cool. Any blood work, any gut health testing work, any sleep analysis, anything like this?
I've just got a sleep app, and my sleep is really good.
Okay.
Really good. No, I'm testing good works, but after hearing over this next, you're smiling as if it's probably not going to be good.
You know, the app on your phone will be incredibly inaccurate, but yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm wanting to get one of those.
Oura rings.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dan's got one on right now.
Oh yeah, sweet.
Flex.
But I would be very interested in good works.
Yeah, okay, awesome. What about you guys? Anyone else?
I do blood works, like every 3 months or every 6 months.
Nice. Who'd you do it with?
Private.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I've been doing that for past years.
Mm-hmm.
Like even the gym, like it's an excuse, but like I've just been not consistent with the gym.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the diet, when I'm like 100% focused in the gym, I can get results. But like for me, these are like short-term results. I can bulk up and get fat again, so I haven't been like consistent to maintain like a healthy body.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Jack?
Use Oura ring.
Yeah.
I eat absolutely anything I want.
Okay.
I do want to be healthy, but it's quite hard, you know.
Yeah.
Hard is good. It's meant to be hard.
There's too many nice foods out there.
No, don't be a snake your mouth pleasure, bro.
I don't know. I also work out as well every day.
Yeah. Do any of you guys do any other quantification, like sleep analysis, other blood work, gut health testing? Any of you guys done that stuff before? So that's all fairly new to you guys. Okay, cool. We'll dive into that.
Should we just go benefit of really just quick fire introductions around the room in terms of name, where you're from, what you're doing, what you're looking to get out of this trip, just so kind of we know who's here. Lee, do you want to start?
Hi, Lee.
Ryan.
I'm based down in Devon, in the UK. Day job in cybersecurity, sideline property business, and sideline networking events business for
Awesome.
people. Just looking to get around some winners, really. Upgrade my where I want to get in life.
Nice.
Raise the bar and step up and learn some new stuff as well.
Awesome, bro.
Jack Bloom from Lincolnshire. Basically, I'm here to productise both our knowledge as an FBA business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where are you at financially with that now?
In what ways?
The FBA business.
70, 80 grand per month.
Is that the education side or the actual business itself?
That's the actual business.
Okay, cool.
Education side we only set up 3-4 weeks ago.
Okay, cool.
Or launched 3-4 weeks ago. So that was sort of a step to get out of here.
Yeah.
To get out of here. So, yeah.
What's the ticket price to education business?
2 grand.
2 grand. Okay, cool. Nice. Go for it, bro.
I'm Zach, so I'm from the northwest, so up north. I've got a sales business. Don't do anything online, so kind of come here to kind of just get some of those answers to some of the questions in terms of the online stuff, and really into the health and healthy living type of stuff. So I'll talk about that. So,
Nice one.
Yeah, I'm Jack from Lincolnshire again.
Jack and Jack.
Yeah. Running out an FBA business, just recently started the education business. Looking to just scale that really and know what, just every aspect of the business, know what product we should be offering, what price point, marketing, everything like that basically. So.
Okay, cool, nice. Awesome. Go for it, bro.
Travel from Ghana, got a property business and also work day job as a project management consultant.
Nice, awesome.
Nick Taylor, based in Glasgow in the southwest at the moment, working as a quality surveyor, just looking to kind of get into property, get as much knowledge as possible, and build the business in the next 12 months.
Nice one.
I'm there, based in the Midlands, International Conference Coach for Kids, so I use conference to fight anxiety and pressure fair on in life.
Mm.
It's going really well. I've got an online course for kids. I've got an online course for teachers because I'm upskilling teachers to do what I do, especially if they're discriminated in the education system, which a lot of them are.
Mm.
So it's a good market just there. I'm probably bringing in the highest month I've ever had is 14k doing what I'm doing, so it's fairly new to this kind of genre.
And what's the price of service?
The price is 3k for the teachers, but
Okay.
for the kids it's 2,000 in person
Okay.
and online. So it's good. It's just that I really want to
Yeah.
level it up, and I think I just need to systematise.
Sure.
So yeah.
Jamie from Solihull. I run an engineering literature company. I suppose to get out of this trip, I'm just break down some barriers. Obviously, learn off people like yourselves, work in the room, and yeah, I'm looking to start really get going after this trip on my journey.
Okay, awesome. So it sounds like you guys are interested in the online aspect of things also. So we'll dive into that in terms of what contributed towards these guys' successes. I'm happy to dive into that in nuanced detail at the end, but we'll touch on the health components first. So from the self-sabotaging perspective of things, this is a really basic premise, but it's arguably the foundation of all components that we're going to dive into first. All of us at some point have been guilty of the following on the list: overeating, depriving ourselves of sleep, drinking stupid amounts of alcohol, vaping, devouring junk food, smoking, mindlessly scrolling on social media, skipping going to the gym. Even we know all of these behaviors don't benefit us whatsoever, and in itself puts us in debt the next day to an extent. So how many of you guys in the room now finish working at like 7 or 8 p.m. and then just overeat, or just like sit on the sofa, lay back, watch Netflix until like 1 a.m. in the morning? How many of you guys are guilty of doing that currently? Or something similar to?
I'm guilty of everything on there, pretty much.
Everything? Anyone else guilty of anything on this? Any of you guys indulge in any of these behaviors? None? Yeah? All of you guys? Which one?
Yeah, recently been skipping the gym because I've been commuting, so that's been struggling to keep a routine with driving. Social media, I'm not too bad with that, to be honest with you. Smoke, don't smoke, junk food, never have it, drink stupid amounts of alcohol every so often. And deprive myself of sleep. No, I don't even have an alarm clock. I'd rather sleep and be late than get up early and miss out on sleep. Prioritise sleep.
So out of all the individuals that I work with, typically, these individuals engage in none of these behaviors or try not to do so, and that's why I work with them in the first place, for accountability purposes. But for example, individuals like Iman, Cole, etc., these guys are very, very disciplined with these components, or at least were so previously prior to Iman making so much money, perhaps. But we're more so disciplined with these behaviors, and as a result of that, every single day, their output and efficiency was equal as high as it would have been the day prior, right? So other individuals that I work with that come into the program first initially, these guys do engage in these behaviors. They're on Netflix till 1 a.m., mindlessly scrolling social media, engaging in obviously consuming loads of food, etc. And as a result of that, cognitively, their performance the next day depreciates pretty significantly, and therefore they're nowhere near at their peak, which is one initial component, of course, we need to make sure you guys aren't engaging in. This is really basic stuff, but of course we need to dive into all components. As you guys can see on here, I thought it was a really cool graphic from, do you guys know Brian Johnson? Have you guys heard of this guy? He sold his payment processing business to PayPal for 800 million. And he's now starting a health blueprint called Blueprint. And he created these really cool graphics to demonstrate the point being made here. In terms of most individuals are very competent in the morning, daytime, then as a result towards the latter part of the evening, they engage in heavy bad decisions, and therefore, of course, in terms of the impact that has on them, it's pretty significant the next day. And we all engage in this 20% version of ourselves, which he refers to as being the rascal, overindulging in food, alcohol, social media, whatever it may be, and of course that impedes your performance the next day. So really basic stuff, but stuff you guys need to be aware of. As an example, one of the basic things I would encourage all of you guys to do is to actually minimize your eating windows. So for example, I consume my last meal about 5 p.m. I consume no caloric intake afterwards at all. The reason being is because most individuals that I work with, and also myself included in that category, tend to overindulge in food or consume bad food sources in the evening specifically, once you've finished a stressful day of work, etc. And also just to negate that entirely, I simply don't consume food past 5 p.m. All my clients don't either. They consume 2 or 3 meals per day at certain time periods, and we'll dive into that in a second. But last meal being about 5 p.m., which is also about 5 hours prior to bed, which enables better sleep quality also. Another thing which I incorporated for most individuals, given that we're all slightly addicted to our phones, just a really basic thing also in the evening here to prevent yourself from scrolling social media as you go into bed or using Netflix, whatever it may be. Get one of those boxes on Amazon which you guys can purchase. I'll pull it up here actually. It's a timer box which doesn't enable you to actually open your phone. I don't know if you guys have seen these before. Really basic one, but it prevents you guys from using your phone in the evening. And as a result of that, of course, from a sleep quality perspective, it'll be better. And also it prevents you just engaging in really bad behavior. Again, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it may be, which of course requires sleep debt as a result. Really basic win, but something really easy to incorporate initially, okay? Furthering that, we're gonna dive into, of course, as I said, all nuances of sleep, etc. So we'll dive into, let's go back to this first. We'll dive into healthy diet first and foremost. And we'll dive into the process that I facilitate for the clients I work with and how to actually determine what is healthy as such. So none of you guys done a gut health test before. Unfortunately, this is pretty gross. It's a shit test. You literally do shit in a pad. And on some instances, given it's transported towards the US, there's no European distribution center currently, apart from Omnos, which I'll dive into in a second. They do leak, which isn't particularly great, and you do get a notification, an email, and they say, hey, it's been contaminated, which isn't ideal. But anyway, they give you an identification of food sources which are positive for your gut and of course negative for your gut, and therefore cause gut health issues, inflammation, etc. So this individual I work with called Nick. As you can see, we've got 4 categories. We've got superfoods, enjoy, minimize, and avoid. And again, most of these food sources are food sources he's consuming fairly frequently, which are causing issues with his gut, digestive system, etc. And also as a result of that, his cognitive output and also inflammation experience as a result was pretty severe. These guys also then encourage you to incorporate prebiotics, probiotics, and polyphenols to clean up your gut health and microbiome function also, which will benefit you in terms of how you feel on a daily basis, okay? This is one company, Viome. You guys can actually purchase like genetic health testing kits from them also. And there's another company called Omnos here, which is based in the UK. I know the founder and CEO pretty well, and he's probably the more competent individual, but the testing kits are pretty expensive. So for example, a microbiome test here, as you guys can see, is like, I think 500 quid. So it's a more expensive testing kit, but definitely worthwhile in terms of an investment to make. You can do these fairly regularly also. As you can see, Omnos also offer other testing kits, blood testing, genetic testing, envirotoxin testing, etc. But I'll dive into that in a little bit as well. Okay, does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Any questions on that, or is it all pretty clear? Yeah?
I just want to make a comment on the cost. When we say it's expensive, I go, I've always, one thing I'll never be frugal on is when it comes to health. So whatever it costs, I think, as an action item, write that down, just go buy it.
Yeah, I think blood tests, so yeah, that probably.
Who from? What company? Okay, cool. And how many panels did they, how many biomarkers did they assess? Do you know? 24. Okay, so not massive. Have you got the stuff on your phone?
I've got the report.
Okay, if you find it at some point, we can look into it if you want to. Yeah? Okay, cool. From a supplementation perspective, what are you guys incorporating currently, apart from like omega-3s, etc.? Anything else you guys are incorporating? And I'm not referring to whey protein powder or anything like this. What else are you guys incorporating?
So I have class tea as a supplement, like a healthy tea.
Mm.
Manuka honey, the B12, cod liver oil. We've got like the multi-supplement, which kind of got like all the bits that you need for testosterone maintenance.
What's preventing the rest of you guys from investing in supplementation? Is it a lack of understanding of what to incorporate, or what is it?
Probably that, yeah.
Yeah? Okay, cool. Have you guys heard of a company called Bionic?
No.
Actually, Mike's one of their affiliates. So,
Okay.
yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't spoken about that. But he's created a couple of videos with him and a podcast with the founder. This is a company based in Dubai, America, and also now the UK. And they do blood testing work, and as a result, personalize your supplementation to your blood test results. So as an example here, I can show you guys some analytics. So this is an individual checkup report, as you can see, taken on the 10th of the 2nd. These are all the profiles that they assess for, and they also incorporate hormone profile assessments as well. The really cool thing, because all of you guys based in the UK, is this testing process itself only costs about £150, supplementation and £150 on top. But of course, it enables you to have personalized supplements to your blood work. So as opposed to doing random guesswork and incorporating and spending loads of money on supplements, which you guys have no idea of how much to take, when to take it, whether or not it's appropriate for you as an individual, etc., you guys can make sure that there's no element of doubt in your blood, in your supplementation moving forward by getting it personalized. Yeah, so I take this everywhere with me. It's great. So as opposed to having to have like 100 supplements in multiple drawers and forgetting which one to take, when to take it, you take 8 of these tablets per day, 2 per meal, if you're consuming 2 meals per day, or just later meals a day like lunch and dinner. And also you can incorporate your omega-3s from this company as well, but it's really great. And if you guys were wanting to do any basic blood work, I'd encourage you to move forward with Bionic as well. If you guys are based in the UK, like all of you are, you can actually get the nurse to come over to your house and they get it done in about 5 minutes, which is great. And they test for about 50 parameters, which is awesome. So as you guys can see, triglycerides, HDL, all of this stuff, I won't bore you with this stuff too much. But it makes you aware of course, deficiencies and areas, of course, for concern based on hereditary concerns, and also risk of cardiovascular disease long term as well, which is really important, of course, we all take care of, prevent, of course. early onset of death, which is, yeah, slightly morbid, but really important also. Yeah?
How does Bloodwork actually work?
In what respect?
I've never really researched into it.
What, in terms of the actual process? Or?
Yeah, the process.
So the process itself takes 5 minutes, as I said. They take about 6 vials of blood, so I think it's about 50 mils. It's a fair amount, so you feel fairly dizzy afterwards, for sure, and you feel fairly queasy throughout the process. But yeah, I get my blood work done every 3 months. This is one way if you can do it. And another medium for doing it also is that there's better companies for facilitating this, but this is another example. Do you guys know more Plates More Dates from YouTube? Yeah. Heard of him, the fitness guy who called out Liver King? No? Okay, cool, no worries. He started a company called Marek Health, and this is an example of the parameters that they would test for. They will be offering a service in the UK shortly, and there are other companies that provide similar services, but these guys test for all parameters you could possibly wish for with your blood work. So this blood test itself costs about $800, so it's on the more pricey end. But the clients that I work with specifically, we move forward with this company, and yeah, we do this every 3 months with them as well. As you guys can see, the data received is much more comprehensive than that of Bionic. It's fairly lengthy as well. But again, this is really important. It also gives you an assessment, of course, of hormone profiles, testosterone function, etc. Therefore, deficiencies, and as you start to get towards your 30s, 40s, etc., potentially the need for introduction to something like TRT if you guys are open to doing so in the future as well. Yeah, do you guys know what TRT is? Testosterone replacement therapy. Yeah, really important, of course, for male function, cognitively, and also how you feel on a daily basis when we get to a certain point. Yeah. Most individuals jump to that too early, arguably, and they do it more so from a vanity perspective in terms of wanting to get, of course, build muscle tissue, etc. But if you guys do your blood work early, you can see how you felt when your testosterone was at a certain reading, and of course, how you then felt when you're feeling bad. Does that make sense? Yes, you guys can see deficiencies, fluctuations, etc. So if I go down to test here, let's find it. I could then refer to, let's say this individual's 22, 23, I can refer to where their test was at this moment of time when they were feeling good, and also when, of course, they were feeling negative or when they weren't feeling particularly good. So as you guys can see, this testosterone is in range pretty well, and therefore from that perspective, they're feeling pretty good on a daily basis, both cognitively and also physically in terms of recovery as well. Yeah, but most individuals that I work with, we do see somewhat deficiencies based on poor lifestyle habits and choices previously, and most guys are more guilty of bad behaviors associated towards their health than they'd like to admit as well, which of course negatively impedes their hormonal function as well. Yeah. Okay, from a supplementation perspective, on top of the daily supplements you can take from Bionic, you can also incorporate the following supplements to improve your sleep quality. And I'll dive into assessment of sleep quality actually. I'll do that now for you guys. If you guys haven't already, I'd encourage you all to invest in an Oura Ring or a Whoop band. The accuracy of data from Oura is much better in my opinion than it is of Whoop. Do you guys know of Whoop? Have you guys seen that product before? Yeah. You couldn't be bothered with it, what, just in terms of reading the data, actually observing it, or?
Yeah, just, like, I got it with good intentions, and then I just didn't keep up with it, really.
So again, for context, all the individuals that I work with that have made the most money financially with their businesses, by far the most obsessed with these components, particularly sleep. Like an individual like Iman, Cole, etc., they're obsessed with this stuff and always have been, and that's been the foundation of their performance on a daily basis. I think sleep arguably is the most important component when it comes to improving cognitive function on a daily basis, which of course, fuels your business success and is the foundation of. And therefore, I make sure that all of you guys would pick one up. This is about £300. I believe then the subscription for every month is about $10 or something like £10. It's not expensive at all. So make sure you guys invest in this ASAP. In terms of the accuracy of this, is much more efficient than that of a sleep app like Sleep Cycle or of course Whoop as well. But I'll break down these metrics here because these are a bit confusing at first. So as you guys can see, this individual was asleep for 7 hours, 2 minutes, and their awake time was 28 minutes, as you guys can see reflected here. Yeah. Now, most individuals that I work with, again, because their sleep quality is really poor, their awake time is about an hour to an hour and a half per night, even though they're not aware of it. And in terms of impediment, of course, their cognitive function is pretty severe, and that's why they're feeling pretty drowsy, fatigued, etc., can't focus, can't communicate particularly well, memorize things. It's not particularly good. Yeah, this individual's metrics are pretty on point, but most individuals aren't. The variable responsible for cognitive function is REM sleep. And again, most male individuals that I work with have very low levels of REM sleep, so about 30 minutes to an hour per night, as a result of their elevated awake time. And that metric alone is responsible for cognitive function. So really, really important and something most individuals neglect or haven't even heard of yet. Yeah. Another variable we pay attention to is deep sleep. Again, this individual's is 2 hour 13, which is great. That's responsible for physical repair and recovery. So basically how you're recovering from training, stresses, etc. Really important variable also. And other things we pay attention to are variables like resting heart rate, indicative, of course, of cardiovascular health. Again, most individuals in their 20s, 30s, it should be pretty okay. provided they're incorporating some form of resistance and cardiovascular work on a weekly basis. But I've worked with individuals whose resting heart rate is like 70 to 80 BPM as a result of stressful times in their business, etc., or just being overweight, metabolically unhealthy. And therefore, that's a massive cause for concern in terms of how they feel on a daily basis. Yeah, not positive whatsoever. Other variables, respiratory rate, being indicative of whether or not effectively you're breathing through your mouth or nasal breathing throughout the night. Most individuals that are overweight or haven't actually paid attention to metrics like this do mouth breathe, and that's really negative to their health quality long term, okay? And also, of course, their sleep metrics. And another cool component of this as well is it can actually tell you in advance when you're getting sick, which is great, and therefore you can mitigate that, of course, and ensure that you're feeling more positive moving forward as well. So that's being reflected in your readiness score here, which is the left column. And that's also reflected specifically in temperature deviation, okay? So that's a really important variable to pay attention to. So I remember specifically in 2020, Tyler, your metrics were crazy with COVID. Do you remember? Your body temperature was like sky high for like 5-6 days.
The early days of COVID, before anything locked down.
Yeah, it was like, I think it was Feb, and you were the first person whose metrics I saw that had COVID. Yeah, it was pretty nuts.
There's no testing or anything, so I have no idea if it was COVID or wasn't COVID. But yeah, I mean, it tells you, it knows your body almost better than you can consciously think. And what's been interesting for me is that, I mean, I've probably been using Aura over 3 years at this point, and just the constant feedback loop of looking at your stats, noticing how you feel, you start to kind of see patterns, and you can wake up and you can, almost without looking, try and guess what your Aura score was because it's based on how you feel. But the biggest thing is when you do get a wicked sleep score and a proper sleep and you follow the protocol, and for me it was very difficult, but I began to learn what worked for me, what didn't work for me. When you've had a solid sleep, the heightened performance you have the next day is just unreal. My most productive days, sleep, number one thing. And for me it was, I would eat way too close to bedtime, sleep time, and a big meal as well, a big hot meal. And so I would notice that my body temperature, my heart rate would be much higher.
Yeah, I was about to say, this individual specifically, he's eating 5 hours prior to bed, and therefore you can see his heart rate's very much flatlined throughout the night, which is great and very positive to sleep quality. But most individuals' heart rate would be about 70 BPM prior to bed if their resting heart rate or average resting heart rate is 53 here. Yeah, and again, that elevates their core body temperature also, and therefore, of course, from a sleep quality perspective, that's pretty shit. It's not the way to go by any means. So that's one really basic thing you guys can incorporate. But it removes the subconscious bias from how you feel on a daily basis, which is great, because it actually gives you data to support whether or not you're feeling good or bad, which is really important also. And that being reflected specifically on a physical level in your HRV, which is indicative of how well recovered you are on a daily basis, both physically and also to an extent in terms of response to stresses in your life, whether it be personal or business related as well. Yeah. So most individuals, again, that I work with, typically, they come from a slightly athletic background or somewhat athletic, and they've transferred that into business. Typically, the HRV is somewhat higher, and that's based on a predisposition as such. It's just a correlation we see. My HRV is about 120. So typically, the higher, the better in terms of recovery. And of course, if you guys see a dip in that, that infers very much you're too stressed, you're dealing with overwhelm or physical fatigue and accumulation of that as well. Yeah, and therefore you guys should pull it back a little bit more, spend a little bit more time recovering, etc. So in this instance, again, if we go through these guys' metrics here, that individual's HRV was 49 that night, and then again 49 here, so it's pretty consistent here. There's not too much cause for concern in that respect at all, and therefore, of course, you can push forward a physical training and also stress associated towards business in terms of pushing the needle forward. Does that make sense, you guys?
So what is HRV for those?
It's basically a metric which identifies and refers to recovery. That's what you want to think of it as in simple terms. Yeah, both from stresses psychologically and also physical as well. Make sense, you guys?
And what's a good level of ROM speed?
Say again?
A good level of ROM speed?
Preferably 2 hours.
2 hours a day?
Yeah, that's the goal. But again, most male clients, I can show you examples of this as well. Most male clients require about 30 minutes per night, which is terrible. And they're not aware of the significance it has in terms of the impediment to their cognitive function, because they've never actually acquired 2 hours before. Like, it's a metric they've never obtained previously. So yeah, something you guys all need to focus on. And as soon as you guys get that data back, you guys will, of course, then start to reinforce positive habits when it comes to improving sleep quality, like eating earlier, supplementation, etc. Really basic stuff. How many of you guys toss and turn at night because you're really hot also? And you're awake constantly, maybe your partner's really hot at night. None of you guys have that difficulty at all?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, okay, cool. That's a massive impediment to your sleep quality. And I'd encourage you guys massively to purchase a product like an 8 Sleep Pod Pro if that were impeding your sleep quality and causing you to wake up throughout the night. This is great. This is a cooling system on top of your mattress as a mattress topper. It is fairly pricey, but again, definitely worth the investment in terms of sleep quality being improved long term. If you guys don't want to purchase something which is £3,000, you guys can purchase the bed jet as well, which is slightly more invasive. I will make you guys aware of in advance because it's actually like an air cooling system as opposed to it being within the mattress itself. But this is like $500. It's not particularly expensive at all. So we'd very much encourage you guys all to pick this up if you guys have difficulty with temperature regulation throughout the summer months specifically, and you're not in an air-conned environment as well. Make sense, you guys? Yeah. When it comes to sleep supplementation, do you guys incorporate anything currently like magnesium, L-theanine, anything like this? You do? What do you incorporate? Just magnesium? Anything else? No? Any of you guys incorporate sleep supplements?
I take magnesium. Well, not only recently, but I've started taking magnesium.
Okay, cool. I'll send this as a list to you guys. It's 5 supplements that I want you guys to purchase pretty much straight away. And again, the total cost of that will be about £100, won't be particularly expensive at all. We have apigenin here, which is a derivative of chamomile, so it has a calming effect on the body, both in terms of core body temperature regulation, just also psychologically as well, which is great. I'll send these guys through to you as links. You have magnesium here as well, magnesium L-threonate, and also L-theanine. These are really basic products you can incorporate for a calming effect on the body also. Most individuals are deficient in magnesium as well, and of course in terms of impediment to sleep quality and how they feel every day, it's pretty terrible. Another variable to pay attention to, particularly when traveling, is GABA. So if you guys want a bit of a knockout blow, have this with also glycine as well. Okay, again, these 5 products are great. Incorporate these 2-3 hours prior to bed, and you'll be absolutely fine on a daily basis, provided, of course, you've managed your sleep environment as well. Make sense, you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Did you say you're going to send?
Yeah, I'll ping these through as links. Yeah, no worries. Other variables, again, just to pay attention to is a summary for sleep quality. So make sure you consume your last meal 4 to 5 hours prior to bed, no matter what, that's a non-negotiable. Limit your liquid intake prior to bed also in the hours prior, so like, again, 4 to 5 hours, to make sure you're not obviously waking up in the middle of the night to need to go for a pee or anything like that, that sucks. And also, of course, encourages you to actually turn on the light to actually see where you're peeing. Again, being very disruptive towards sleep quality. Make sure you guys incorporate blackout blinds and make sure there's no sunlight exposure in the bedroom at night also. Limit all technology sources in the bedroom, remove all of them, your phone, your iPad, TV, etc. Anything which could prevent you from going to bed on time, really important to remove that and all distractions associated. And again, if you guys can regulate your temperature as well with a 8 Sleep or Pro or Chili Pad, that's really preferable, very much so. Make sense? Any of you guys got any questions on this?
Yeah, I've got a question on the aura thing.
Yeah, go for it.
Is it like a band, what you sleep wearing?
It's a ring. Dan's got one on now. I haven't got mine with me right now. But yeah, he'll show you at the end. It's a black ring. Dan, do you want to show your aura ring, mate? It's just that. That's it.
I mean, think it's your wedding ring, right?
How long is the battery last?
Wedding ring?
That's not particularly great. It's like 5 days tops.
So much better than all the smartwatches.
Yeah, much better, much better. Apart from the Ultra Watch.
Bedside table.
Yeah.
Yeah, you slap it on there. Yeah. You guys can incorporate Whoop, but the actual data isn't as great. But people do prefer the wristband typically than the Oura ring. But the data from this is much more effective for sure. Yeah.
How's what?
Just a quick one. So you know on the Bloodwork versus gene tests, I've done a gene test and I found out what supplements I need to be taking to optimize my deficiencies in my genes.
Was the gene test a blood test itself or not?
No, it was like a swab.
Yeah, bro, it's terrible for accuracy of data.
Really?
Yeah, it's gonna be appalling.
So,
Who is that?
next up. But obviously there was a discussion of doing the genes, so I understand what your shortfall with your genes is, and also blood flow as well.
Yeah.
Obviously blood flow is dependent on how you are and what you're doing, and that's going to change over time. So it's like it's a constant change. And I guess why you do it every 3 months.
Yeah, it's really important to be done every 3 months. But that constant change is a key variable, right? Because if you make dietary manipulations or supplementary manipulations, then there'll be deficiencies. So that's why it's really important to get that done so frequently. Yeah. Again, as an example for you guys, like if you're consuming a really fatty diet or excessive caloric intake, your triglycerides will be shit. You're most likely deficient in other nutrients and vitamin profiles also. And again, that takes all of this information into account from this one test. It's one and done. It's great. Yeah. So you guys can of course manipulate your diet in response to the testing results you receive, but also from a supplementation perspective, you're covering all low-hanging fruits, which is really important. Yeah.
Slightly separate. When you said no food before bed for 5 hours. Don't do that, so I'll try that. But in terms of technology, how many hours before you turn the technology on?
Provided it's not impeding your sleep quality, and what I mean by that is not preventing you from going to bed later, then I have no issue with it typically. Most of the clients I work with, they incorporate blue light blockers. These are blue light blocking glasses, but they've got lenses in as well. I incorporate these every single day. But yeah, you guys can incorporate that to mitigate the impact of blue light from technology sources, but provided it's not stimulating you and preventing you from going to bed on time, I've got no issue with it whatsoever. There's no need to remove that entirely like an hour or 2 prior to bed, because most individuals can't. So.
Sometimes I struggle kind of getting to focus states of work. When I'm in one, I like to stay in it.
Yeah.
So like sometimes it's really, really early in the morning when there's nobody awake, or as it's drifting on into later in the night and it's not awake again. So when I'm in the office, everyone's always wants your attention, wants you to do something. So.
For sure, that does bring me on to a point also, like the individuals that I work with, again, I'll use Iman as a case study because you guys are all aware of him, I'm sure. He was religiously adhering to his sleep cycles and his sleep timing. So his sleep start and end times are very consistent, time he went to bed and time he woke up. And that enabled his deep work in the morning to be at a very high level in terms of performance. So he'd go to the gym with me, we train first thing. He'd then be in a fasted state until about 2 p.m. and complete deep work from about 9 a.m. till 2 p.m. No interruptions, no social media, no interaction with team members, nothing like that at all. And then he'd engage with team members and other work-related tasks in the afternoon once he consumed his first meal. Yeah, that's the way in which he adhered to that routine for 3 to 4 years. Most individuals I work with adhere to a very similar routine also to just ensure their performance is at a high level on a daily basis, but that consistency is great because it means you know when you have time to actually apply towards tasks, bandwidth, etc. Really important.
If I was, say I'm trying to get to the office for 9 or 10,
yeah.
I've got like a 45-minute commute and I want to do a workout. Do I do the workout in the evening, do the deep work in the morning? Do I do workout and deep work in the morning, then go to work?
It depends on what time you're training. What time are you training? What time do you go to bed?
It's what I've been trying to figure out because I'm happy to do whatever.
Yeah. Okay, get an aura ring first, then track your sleep quality, establish consistent sleep start and end times, and reverse engineer it. So if you're working out 3 hours prior to bed, that's a no in my opinion, because your heart rate's elevated, your body temperature's also, and of course the endorphin rush, etc. It leads to most individuals not going to bed at all, or going to bed a little bit later. So if that were to be the case, definitely work out first thing, for sure.
Yeah, I always feel better when I wake up early or maybe go to the gym, whatever.
Yeah.
It's always the best day.
Massively, for sure. And it gets out of the way also, for instance, being like another task to incorporate. Any of you guys got any questions on sleep analysis, blood work?
So just looking at my driver report. So you see this one, the Bible, does it actually give you recommendations? Like to say, you've got high cholesterol?
Yeah, I mean, the blood testing results here are pretty obvious in terms of where they are on ranges, and it will incorporate some recommendations, but if you work with an individual like myself, or even the coach and experts they have in their team there, yes, they'll provide that insight for you for sure. They give you a free consultation initially, but it's from a nutritionist. So those make you basic recommendations in terms of dietary manipulations, etc. But that'll be very basic. But yeah, they give that to you guys for free. It's like 60 minutes on top. Yeah. No, they operate around the whole UK, man. Yeah. You can also do testing works through. Do you guys know Medichecks? It's another company. You guys can order the actual assessment kit and get it done with a nurse in your local area also. But yeah, you can get that done anywhere in the UK, man. Yeah, and you get your personalised supplementation in about 5 to 7 days. It's pretty quick. Results back in about 3 days. It's really good. Yeah. From a dietary perspective, have you guys got set meal times yet or not? Do you guys adhere to a set schedule in that respect, or is it pretty all over the place? Do you guys ever experience like a carbohydrate crash or an afternoon slump from an energy perspective? Any of you guys can resonate with that? Yeah. How are you guys mitigating that? What are you proactively doing to mitigate that? Coffee? Okay. Everyone does that? Bro, go for it. Okay. Are you guys incorporating carbohydrates in every single one of your meals currently?
I'm not.
You're not?
Just one.
Good. You? Yeah, Jack? Yeah. Okay, the best way to mitigate that, in my opinion, is to evaluate your caloric intake first and establish this. You guys can use a really basic caloric intake calculator online. So there's one, I think calorie.net is one, really basic. Or something similar to this. I'll find it towards the end. Really basic calorie calculator, and of course it gives you caloric intake based on whether or not you're in a surplus or deficit and want to improve your body composition or perhaps put on a little bit more weight and a little bit more tissue. Really basic first one. Once that's done, you then need to think about your caloric distribution. So how many meals you're going to be consuming and the timing of. Okay, so do you guys consume 3 meals? Do you guys consume breakfast? What's the kind of plan for you guys currently? 2 meals? And do you fast or do you consume that first thing?
No, so first meal about 1 o'clock.
Okay, cool.
And then next meal, very spurious, maybe anywhere from 5 to 9 o'clock.
And is that a proactive and intentional fast, or is that just because you don't want to eat breakfast?
I don't like eating more.
Fair. Okay, Jack?
Mine's a bit all over the place.
All over the place.
So I usually have breakfast 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And then I'm just snacking pretty all day.
Okay.
If I don't, I feel like I'm going to faint.
Okay.
Crash. I don't have diabetes. I just
Get a blood glucose monitor. Yeah, get one. You can get one on Amazon for like 50 quid. It's great. It'll give you. It's connected by Bluetooth, so it gives you alerts if your blood glucose is dipping. Yeah, it's really cool. But yeah, the basic way to negate that in terms of impact and from a productivity perspective, if you guys are feeling lethargic, is just to make sure your first meal is carbohydrates and fat dense. So for example, I'm in a deficit currently. I'm consuming about 2,200 calories per day, so it's pretty low for me in terms of my intake and energy expenditure. I'm consuming approximately 1,000 calories for my first meal, and that's consumed at about 2 p.m. So very high fats and proteins in terms of that meal, and fibrous green vegetables as well. My latter meal, so my 5 p.m. meal, once I've completed all my heavy work-related tasks to prevent a carbohydrate crash, is very carbohydrate dense. So about 200 grams of carbohydrates, 40 protein, 20 grams worth of fat for the macronutrient breakdown of that meal. Okay, and that just ensures that, again, I'm not impeded by a carbohydrate crash or a slump as a result of consuming a heavy calorie-dense meal in the afternoon or for lunch, for example. And my first meal, again, just ensures that I can carry through my work from a productivity perspective by ensuring it's fats and proteins biased. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, so you're fasting,
Yeah.
which is fat. What if you kind of got different goals? Like if you need to create a surplus, if you want to get bigger, let's say.
How many calories were you consuming in a surplus, personally?
Surplus, you'll have to be 3,500.
I could consume that in 3 meals, typically. So I just break that down from 2 to 3 instead, and just incorporate a meal in the middle. That'd be probably more carbohydrate dense, that second meal, for sure.
In a smaller window as opposed to...
Yes.
So no breakfast?
It depends, man. Again, if you believe it to be impeding to your work productivity and quality, then yes, I wouldn't incorporate that. But if not, then yes, you can incorporate it. I'd very much remove carbohydrates, though, if you were to have it, for sure.
Right. And is it an absolute myth that you've got to consume a shitload of protein 20 minutes after a workout, especially legs?
No, provided your protein intake is adequate throughout the day, then you're fine.
You're right.
Yeah, absolutely fine. So just aim for a gram per pound of body weight, you're fine. You're all good. Yeah, and again, from this perspective, we're not optimizing for being a bodybuilder. Right, we're optimizing very much so for work productivity and output. So in terms of the introduction of peri-workout supplements, then it's not the priority by any means. Yeah, we're just looking to mitigate the amount of times you're consuming food sources to prevent any crash. Also, again, just take into account, it's not just carbohydrates that cause that impact in terms of crash. If you're consuming any food source, blood is going towards your gut to digest food. Hence why you feel lethargic and like you can't perform very well cognitively, because of course blood's being processed towards that area. Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah. Yeah, and therefore that's why you should look to mitigate your consumption of meals so frequently. Yeah? Make sense? Is that pretty clear? Yeah?
So I suppose randomly, if you were to work with a bodybuilding client, it would obviously every client's bespoke.
I don't work with bodybuilding clients.
Oh,
yeah, I just work with business people. Yeah, that's it. And I work with their teams also. So, for example, for Bass's team, there's 30 individuals, and there's appointment setting off, we'll work with them, etc. Okay. Yeah, so we implement the same processes with all these guys, and then track based on metrics.
I'm not a bodybuilder, you can tell I'm not.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah,
you've got to make a decision. What is it you're optimizing for?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as an example, like I love my training, and I'm obsessed with training, and I love my endurance events as well. I'll pull that back just to ensure that I can actually feel good on a daily basis. Because again, the goals don't align by any means. Like arguably, you could say that cardiovascular work on a daily basis or incorporation of weekly isn't detrimental, and that's definitely the case provided you regulate your recovery. But excessive amounts like half marathons consistently, etc., it's not particularly positive. And for me personally, that's why I regulate my training intensity and don't push it too hard currently. So I regulate my volume and my amount of appropriate working sets per muscle group per week. And my cardiovascular work, I do 2 aerobic sessions with my heart rate about 150 BPM, and then 1 anaerobic session per week, and that's it.
And for the average person that's not going to do those endurance events, would you recommend 3 to 5 times working out?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it depends on your recovery, man. Yeah. So for the clients we work with, again, we reflect on aura for this. If we see their readiness starts to decrease and their HRV starts to decrease drastically, it's simply a case that they're overloaded in terms of fatigue accumulation. That's all, and therefore we program a rest day. That's it. So as an example, this individual is Eric Roscoe. This is his training program for this week, or for last week here. As you guys can see, he's currently training pretty much every day, and he manipulates his cardiovascular work. But the reason why it's programmed for every day is so we can incorporate rest days as and when needed based on his recovery and HRV. Yeah? So if he sees HRV drop to about 30 ms, because he's currently at like 49 ms, and that's a significant drop, I'll say to Eric, hey man, today, let's push your pull workout to tomorrow, let's incorporate a rest day today. Make sense? Yeah. So we can account for that and therefore ensure that, again, from a perspective of how well he's managing his fatigue, it's well regulated. So that daily metric analysis is really, really important to managing that. And of course, any physical fatigue you start to accrue reflects in your cognitive performance as well. You start to feel lethargic, like you won't want to work, etc., like you want to go to bed, just have a nap, whatever it may be. And therefore, again, regulation of this is really important. Make sense?
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's absolutely incredible.
It's cool. Yeah. But with the assessment of aura metrics, when you guys do purchase one of these, or as I said, a whip band, make sure you don't wake up and immediately check your aura metrics. It's the worst thing to do in the world. Reason being is because if you get an indication that your sleep quality has been pretty poor, you're basically writing yourself off for the day. If you check that first thing upon waking, you've got the unconscious bias of, oh, I feel crap today, I shouldn't perform particularly well, etc. Don't do it. The only time you should be checking your metrics really is pre-training to assess your HRV, and then you can also assess patterns in your sleep quality at that time as well. Yeah? So for example, if you are training in the afternoon, let's say like 2 p.m., 3 p.m., or even a little bit later, check your HRV, go to your readiness, check your HRV, see how well that's performed or how well you've recovered. If it's been impeded, pull back your training intensity or perhaps take a cardiovascular session or a rest day that day. Yeah, and then assess your oral metrics at the same time.
Yeah, just look at the stats accordingly.
Yeah, basically,
Perfect.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, also with training as well, I don't know how obsessed you guys are with training or how competent you guys are when it comes to training. Make sure if you are incorporating resistance training that you're programming efficiently and you're enabling for progressive overload by managing your volume. So amount of working sets per week and facilitation, of course, of increased loads on your movements as well. Really, really important, really basic stuff. As you guys can see here, this individual for most movements, you guys can see it on screen, we program 3 working sets. There's individuals on a 12-week program, and progressively he'll be incorporating more volume, increased intensity on his working sets, and of course, increased load as well. Yeah, but if you guys are training and you want to facilitate progression, make sure you manage this and increase as and when needed. Yeah? Make sense? Yeah?
Just good to touch on the consistency of the importance of consistency on the sleep and start and end times. I know you briefly mentioned it, but I know for me that is one of the bigger game changers is when if I have at least 3-4 days where bed at the same time, wake up at the same time, body, I mean, you can talk us through the science of what happens in your body, but for me it's just what really moves the needle.
Yeah, so let's go to a night of bad sleep for this guy. There's been a couple recently. Yeah, here's an example. So yeah, regulation of your sleep start and end times is absolutely paramount, both from a sleep perspective, but also hormonal regulation perspective. So how many of you guys wake up first thing and feel groggy, fatigued, and it takes you like half an hour to an hour to wake up properly? Is that something you guys can resonate with? Yeah, most of you guys. It's simply a lack of regulation of your circadian rhythm and therefore a clash from a hormonal perspective. So first thing upon waking, you're producing cortisol, which is effectively a stress-related hormone to wake you up, elevate your core body temperature and your heart rate as well. If you guys are waking up at an inconsistent time, that's going to clash with melatonin, and they're kind of like the Batman and Joker. They'll clash, and as a result, you're going to feel crap first thing upon waking, which is terrible, okay? So regulation of that is really, really important. As you guys can see, for most individuals that I work with, or most metrics I'm referring to, their heart rate is somewhat of a U-shaped curve. So it starts to descend towards the middle of the night and then start to ascend here. As you can see, that guy's metric didn't track there, but it starts to ascend here. That's indicative of the fact that he's very consistent with his timing, which is great. So it means hormonally also in terms of production of melatonin, feeling tired, obviously going to bed, and also in terms of feeling energized first thing upon waking, that's well set and well primed. Most individuals, it's looking like a zigzag, it's all over the place, it's terrible. And as a result of that, they feel really lethargic first thing, they can't perform particularly well, they can't work, let alone train, whatever it may be, they feel crap, and it takes them about an hour to wake up. So that's a really important variable. That also impedes their blood glucose regulation, and yeah, it's pretty crap as well, given most individuals are pretty metabolically unhealthy. But yeah, it's a really, really important variable. And just to showcase the point even more so, one night of inconsistent sleep timings will have massive impact on your sleep quality and circadian rhythm for about 7 days consistently or consecutively afterwards. So it's really important you guys dial that in and you go to bed within an hour at the same time every single day. Yeah, so set that up as the foundation for your day and your week moving forward when you guys get back home. Establish your sleep start time, establish your sleep end time, remain consistent with that, and allow for 9 hours spent in bed to equate to about 8 hours of sleep duration in total in that time period. Make sense?
Wow, yeah. So you say, was it circadian rhythm?
Circadian rhythm, yeah.
Circadian rhythm. So obviously it's from my knowledge, which is very limited, it's like, or maybe not. So you basically, you don't want to set your alarm if you do have to alarm, you do have to get up. You don't have the luxury of getting up. It's better to plan your sleep and organise your sleep at the time where you are on the light sleep as opposed to a deep sleep, because are you more groggy? Is that another myth?
That's somewhat of a myth. Yeah, it's primarily based on deficiencies in their REM sleep. They're feeling crap, man. That's all.
So it's got nothing to do with the fact that it's just all the...
No, so when people refer to sleep cycles, and then typically it's endorsed by apps, like the app you're probably using currently, and they refer to waking up mid-sleep cycle or the end of a sleep cycle based on 3-hour phases or hour-and-a-half phase. Again,
Delete it, by the way.
yeah, delete it. It's not a key variable to pay attention to. This is more important in terms of substantial sleep quality, allocating for enough REM sleep. That's the most important variable. Most individuals that are looking to optimize based on sleep cycles would equate for about 6 hours in bed, and their wake time again equates to about an hour, and therefore from a perspective of REM sleep acquisition, it's basically non-existent. Again, the most important phase of your sleep for you guys as business people and business owners wanting to perform well cognitively is your REM sleep. If you guys are sleeping for 6 hours per night, you can see what that would result in for this individual specifically. So if he woke up at 4 a.m., he would have acquired about, maybe 30 minutes of REM sleep, 40 minutes tops, because that whole phase here would have been chucked off, would have been gone. So when you guys are sleeping 6 hours per night, that's the impact it would be having on you on a daily basis without knowing it. It's really, really important. You acquire 75% of your REM duration in the last 25% of your sleep duration. That's how that matches out. Make sense?
You must feel really annoyed that, you know, people are just say, don't waste time on sleep. You only need 5 hours of sleep.
Yeah, Gary V. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, this is really important, of course. And again, as I said, like individuals that I've worked with that perform the best financially speaking, they've all absolutely incorporated all these components and been fairly obsessive with it. It's key. Just to showcase the point, I've got some really crazy sleep metrics and data here, which I was pulling up from a recent video that I published as well. So you guys can see lack of sleep costs the United States over $411 billion and over 1.23 million working days annually, which is crazy. Crazy stat. 70 million people in the US sleep with sleep disorders or struggle with sleep disorders. Sleeping 5 hours per night makes you 200-300% more likely to catch a cold than someone sleeping 8 hours per night. There's data like this is so important to pay attention to, and if this doesn't showcase the significance of sleep enough, I don't really know what will, arguably. Other data again, sleeping less than 6 hours per night increases the risk of heart disease by 300%, which is absolutely nuts. Yeah, all of you guys need to be paying attention to this, and it's absolutely paramount to your success moving forward.
If you get to sleep like an hour later than normal, should you keep your wake-up time consistent, or should
Yes.
you look to get
Great question. Yeah, you should. Wake up at the same time. Yeah, and then account for that sleep debt the next day. So just go to bed at the same time again the next day. That's all good. Yeah, great question though. If you guys are going on a night out, how many of you guys party or go on a night out from time to time?
Sometimes.
None of you guys. That's not realistic, surely. You guys go out every now and then? Yeah. Try and pull back the time you get back into bed. So as opposed to getting back at like 4 a.m. or 5 a.m., try and get it back to like closer towards 1 a.m., etc., or closer towards your sleep start time. And try and wake up at the same time as you would do normally. The reason being is if you don't do that, the impediment on your circadian rhythm again will be massive, it'll be hugely detrimental. So it's better to actually sacrifice that night of sleep in terms of duration and get back on track the next day than it would be to have a lie-in as well. Does that make sense? Yeah. By the way, you guys can't account for sleep debt. You guys can't have a lie-in and recover from the past 5 days of previous sleep debt and deficiency. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't actually function. You don't function well like that at all by any means. It's really important you're consistent with your duration and quality every single day moving forward. Yes, the whole myth of work hard Monday through to Friday, then lie until 10 a.m. on Saturday, Sunday, it's debunked. It's not a thing. Okay, you don't operate like that biologically. No. Make sense? Yeah? Any of you guys got any questions about this stuff so far, or is that all pretty clear? Go for it.
I sometimes have like a short sleep and feel energized. So like I go to bed late, like have a 5-6 hours sleep, and just I'm ready to go, like energized. And then sometimes when I sleep too long, I get stuff fatiguing again. So it's like, especially if I do wake up and I'm energized and I get out of bed, I sleep another 2 hours, I wake up and I didn't sleep at all.
Yeah, bro, that's just a hormonal response again. Yeah, for sure. And also, given that there be inconsistencies in your duration, from again, circadian rhythm perspective, hormonal perspective, and also quality of sleep, that's going to be an impediment to what you're experiencing. But I would also argue the psychological component is really important. So if you're driven by your work like you are, you're going to be energized anyway. You're going to get on with it, right? It's really important. Whereas most individuals perhaps aren't as hardcore in that respect, or aren't as able to do so in terms of pulling out the bag randomly, right? Yeah. So again, that's another variable to pay attention to for sure. Psychological component is one. But if you are consistent with this, bro, and get an Oura ring and I'll track your data, just purchase straight away. I'll point out flaws in that or where you could be more consistent and where you could optimize for and then feel better and actually feel good on a daily basis for sure. Yeah. In terms of planning your days, how many of you guys actually like strategically think about what times you're going to bed, what times you're eating meals, what times you're starting to wind down? Nothing like that? Brady? Anyone else? Yeah, Jack? Okay, cool. One really basic activity, and this will save you so much time and effort and also anxiety in the future or thought process decisions, is to be more regimented with that. And first and foremost, allocate for 9 hours of bed per night. So if you guys want to write that down, this is an immediate action item. Allocate for 9 hours of sleep per night, first and foremost, and consistent sleep start and end times. Then reverse engineer your meal times based on, of course, your meal frequency and also taking into account your caloric intake. So again, I consume 2,200 calories per day. I want to consume my last meal 5 hours prior to bed, and therefore I consume that at 5 p.m. given I go to bed at 10 p.m. Yeah? And then reverse engineer that further. I think, right, I want to be in deep work in a fasted state until about 2 p.m. or 1 p.m. So I consume my first meal at 1 to 2 p.m. Make sense? Basic things. I personally train fasted first thing upon waking to get it out the way. I like having that time for myself, then get my steps and also listen to an audiobook prior to diving into deep work. It sets me up well for the day. So I wake up about 6 or 7 a.m. I then start training. I then go for a little walk, listen to an audiobook, and then dive into deep work. The deep work being stuff that moves the needle of my business further forward, and that's what all my clients have incorporated, and I've actually adopted that from them as opposed to vice versa. Yeah, like Iman, etc., Cole Gordon, etc. And I don't engage with individuals like my clients, no social media, nothing like this, no emails. It's all very much deep work, which moves the needle forward. And then past 1 to 2 p.m., it's more social interaction. Yeah, more stuff which is requiring me to speak to clients, sales calls, whatever it may be, DM appointment setting, whatever it is. Yeah, that's more than the lighter work as such after my first meal. That's the best way to establish your routine for sure.
Just on the 9 hours of sleep, I don't know if this is the case for anyone, but certainly in my case, I get up at 4 in the morning, and then work for 5:15, then not getting home to 7 o'clock at night. Like, so I'm working kind of 12, 13 hours a day.
What, do you have to get up at 4 a.m.?
Yeah.
What for?
Well, that's the time we head in for work, so I'll first pass into work. It's 4:45 in the morning, that'll get us in for 5:15. Just so that we do our 12-hour shift.
And you work the same job until 7?
Well, I get the bus at 6:20 back, and that'll get me in for kind of 10 to 7, 7 o'clock.
So how long's your shift at work?
12, 13 hours a day.
How many days a week?
So I do 10 on, 4 off.
10 on, 4 off?
Yeah.
Jeez.
I mean, yeah, I mean, if that's required of you, that's required of you. The only thing you could incorporate is, again, just being as consistent as you can with timings, and again, tracking your metrics to see when, of course, you are accumulating fatigue. Supplementation, meal timing, that'd be the best thing to approach. But given your deficiency in duration, your sleep metrics won't be great, and you won't feel particularly great cognitively also.
Because I've noticed that I've been tracking it recently.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'm maybe getting 20 to 45 minutes from sleeping.
Yeah, I mean, that's the case of most individuals that I work with, but that's not great, man. So do you intend on quitting the job at some point?
I've got a contract to November, so I'm intending kind of leaving that too.
Okay, cool. Well, then, of course, you can start making changes then, which would be great. But until then, yeah, it's effectively a case of mitigating the damage for sure. Definitely, bro. That's really important to do. But again, from a supplementation perspective, meal timing perspective, management of timings, that's what you can prioritize for now. Sleep environment also, but again, from a duration perspective, if you can try not to lie in on the weekends. I know you'll be accumulating a lot of fatigue and a lot of sleep debt as such, but try not to do so because it would just cause further issues long term. Yeah?
So,
Go for it.
when you review a state, is it, your statistics, is it on a daily basis or like weekly basis?
For me personally or with clients? Both? Yeah, every day, man.
Every day?
Every day.
Every day after waking up or every day after the day, like at night?
So for the clients I work with, it automatically updates online, therefore I can check that out first thing upon waking for them, but I don't ask them to open the app until they've done their workout or until they're about to train. Otherwise, again, as I said, the subconscious bias, if their metrics are poor, isn't great. But I check that for them, I give them feedback on that, so I record a brief volume, whatever it may be, give them the analysis of that. For myself, again, I train about first thing, so I do check those metrics first thing, because I have to do so from an HRV perspective. But yeah, that's the routine and consistency behind that, every day, man. Yeah, make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Anything else from you guys? All make sense?
Can we have a 20 recap on the supplements?
Yeah, of course, bro.
Sorry, just what would you recommend on the top 3, 5, whatever, I don't know.
Yeah, so again, personalized supplements from your blood work, just get that done, easy. And then from a sleep supplementation perspective, again, I'll send through the links. Apigenin is derivative of chamomile, so if you guys are incorporating chamomile tea, it's basically the same thing, but it's just supplement form. Magnesium, L-threonate, or glycine, glycinate is absolutely fine. L-theanine as well, we've got GABA, and then also glycine.
What are your thoughts about like breathing and meditation stuff pre-med?
Yeah, dude, if it relaxes you and gets you de-stressed, absolutely incorporate it for sure, but it's not something which is an absolute as such. Like, individuals could play music and be equally as relaxed, so yeah, it's up to you, man, for sure.
Can you get create one supplement with all those goodies in?
Yeah, hopefully someone does that in the future. It'd be cool. Well, I mean, Bloodwork had done that with the personalised ones, but yeah, in this instance, again, from a sleep supplementation perspective, it's not really been done yet, but it will be, for sure. Like, obviously, with Andrew Huberman's success, I'm sure someone will do that soon. All of these products, so if you go onto Amazon, they're all like linked in a basket together, so yeah. Have you guys got any questions? All make sense? Just to briefly touch on it as well, and have you guys got any questions about the individuals that I've worked with from a perspective of what they've done with their businesses? Because I've worked with them very closely and very intimately, pretty much on a daily basis for about 5 to 6 years now, most of these guys. So have you guys got any questions on their process and success?
Talk us through maybe just one individual, their routine, do they wake up, go straight to, because I know every entrepreneur is different.
Yeah.
Others wake up, hit the 3 points straight. Others wake up, go to the gym, you know, like, what's their routine? Just
yeah, I'll give you, I suppose, like juxtaposing examples. So Iman, I worked with him for better part of 3 years in person. He'd go to bed at about 9 p.m. to 10 p.m., wake up at 6 a.m. religiously. I then train him first thing upon waking, so we go to the gym straight away, then come back. He'd be totally fasted until about 2 p.m. Consume his first meal, fats and proteins. Last meal about 5 p.m., which is more carbohydrate dense. Those hours between 9 a.m. to about 2 p.m. were just deep work. No social media, no team interaction, nothing like that at all. Then anything post that meal consumption was all like social media stuff or engagement with team members, team calls, sales calls, etc. That was his routine incorporated. So when I first started working with him, I actually met him when he was 17 before he did anything with business, which was kind of crazy. We met at like a fitness convention. And yeah, anyway, and he was working with, do you guys know Shan Hanif from Genflow? You guys heard of that company?
Mike mentioned Genflow.
Yeah.
Mike's partnered with Genflow as well.
I mean, they've reached a valuation of like 200 million or something crazy. It's a UK business from London, so he's done very well. Influencer marketing business, they partner with influencers to build their products. He was doing videography for them at the time when he was like 17, and then I started working with him in person when he was making 50K per month, and then with his education business, he went to 500K per month in that time period. So he incorporated that same protocol, that routine as such, for about 3 years consistently and facilitated that success in that time period. But of course, there's other variables that contributed to that, but he was very, very consistent with that and very regimented with it for sure, for that entire time period.
I mean, just
And then started partying more, but yeah.
Their obsession with focus, efficiency.
Yeah. The individuals that, these guys specifically, typically, the clients that are the most financially successful know almost as much as I do. The reason why they come to work with me is more so from an accountability perspective, but these guys are absolutely obsessed. Like Cole Gordon, on our first call specifically, I mean, he's doing 2 million a month for his business, if not more now. He was absolutely obsessed with all of these components. He had years and years worth of data and blood work to reflect that. And yeah, he believes that to be his foundation and pinnacle for, of course, what he's facilitated with his business as well. But yeah, all of these guys are absolutely obsessed. I'm not over-exaggerating that. They all come to me as inbound prospects in most instances because they're just obsessed with these components, all of them. Absolutely so. Yeah.
I don't want you guys to like look at this stuff and think, oh, like, that's way too much. It's unnecessary. You know, like there's people in my town, my city that are successful that don't do any of this. They drink beer, they don't sleep, but those people aren't successful. They might have a £3, £4, £5 million house with some nice cars on the driveway, but they're probably brain fog, don't sleep, they've got illness that they're probably concerned about, probably can't get an erection, please their wife anymore. These guys, these are the ones that are making shitloads of cash, young ages, that are healthy, you know, mental acuities, it's people they...
But also a lot of people have the bias that they can perform well when sleep deprived or sleeping 5 to 6 hours per night. I'm sure you guys have adopted that at some point. The likelihood that's the case and probability is 1 in 50 million. It's not going to be any of you guys sat in this room. That's not the case. You can perform well on deprived sleep. It's not going to be the case. Yeah, go for it.
For focus, would you recommend any kind of supplementation for focus? Because I do genuinely struggle with a bit of distraction. Maybe it's
what the distractions?
Yeah, I guess distractions. Well, again, my thing will be scrolling on social media, so I go on there on purpose to stay on point, honestly.
No supplement is going to stop you scrolling on social media.
Is there an anti-social media supplement?
No, you know that box I was talking about at the beginning?
Yeah.
The phone lock box.
That's a good
It's just so easy, bro.
Yeah.
It's so easy. Like if you're completing your deep work, just put your phone in your box.
Yeah. All you need to do is just post and go. You can get my comment and be social on social media.
But also, man, anything you're doing on social media, you can do on your computer. You can upload posts on Instagram.
Yeah, fair point.
Yeah, and you can access your inbox anyway. So if you need to, and it's just less addictive because you can't scroll your newsfeed as well on your computer. So there you go.
Yeah.
Simple.
It's a pretty fair point.
Yeah.
How do you manage and keep on top of all the clients? Because obviously every client has a big database of information and stuff you need to remember and stuff. So do you just delegate a lot of it out, or do you have like some good software that you're involved in making or creating? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the process of currently finishing off a software, which is part of the facilitation of delivery. But one of the teams I work with, we work with a support coach. So he's called Mikhail. I've worked with him since I was 18 as a personal trainer. He's very well informed. He's very knowledgeable. But I outsource a lot of the fulfillment to him for teamwork specifically. So in this instance, this is the Zabriek team's twins team. So as you can see, we work with about 20 individuals here. And he does the majority of fulfillment based on my systems. So I've been doing this for about 5 to 6 years now. And he just takes over those component and then works them on a more one-to-one basis every day. Yeah.
You've got a fairly big team?
Just him at the moment, man.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah. And then from a content perspective, yeah, that's all outsourced, but that's all that needs to be done for now. And appointment setters, salespeople, yeah.
If I'm being really specific in regard to food, so at 2 p.m. eat proteins and fats, 5 p.m. carbs, what would be okay for grabbing tinsel as the example of both of those meals?
Again, it depends on, of course, preferences from a food source perspective. Not necessarily from blood work, from a gut health testing kit specifically. Okay. The blood work just accounts for deficiencies in that respect, from a vitamin and nutrient density perspective. And also, of course, that'll impede your immune function if you're not aware of that. But from a food source perspective, yeah, Viome specifically will give you an indication of food source that cause disruption to your gut health. And again, it's a case of personal preference. So for example, if you're consuming, let's say, 3,000 calories in 2 meals, if you can't consume 500 grams of sweet potato, don't. It's stupid. Yeah, just incorporate a carbohydrate source, which is easy to do it instead. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, so I'd just use my imagination and obviously the bio.
Yeah, there's no like optimal food as such by any means. It's just a case of regulating your macronutrient intake based on meal timings. That's it.
On one of the examples on there, broccoli, avoid it. Look, broccoli.
Yeah, again, but that can be improved based on the prebiotics and probiotics we incorporate with the individual. It's a case of, again, that's just taking into account their current setting.
Yeah. I didn't really register the answer to the question. I didn't really register the answer to that question. So, if the client gets in touch with you, and then how do you kind of like interact with them? Is it like Skype and then like an app, like messaging, or is it like?
No. So for me personally, appointment sets in social media. So typically they're inbound prospects and also to an extent outbound. But we're building a new funnel right now and also facilitating growth of paid ads on top of organic. Appointment setter, then a salesperson or myself that takes a call and obviously close them. The cost of the product is 10K. So I work with them for 12 weeks at a time. It's 10K. Then the teams you work with is 20 to 30, depending on the size of the team, and it of course expands. And then from there, in terms of facilitation of delivery, I contact them every day. So typically through WhatsApp or Slack. So I speak to them every day to check in, analyze their metrics, etc. To facilitate that, we use multiple softwares like Aura, other softwares as well to track their data. So it's pretty simple and straightforward. There's no one central dashboard yet. We're in the process of building that out currently. And therefore, of course, all data be actually accurately reflected in one platform, which would be great. And we can customize that, which is awesome. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Then we do one-to-one calls every week with those guys. Yeah. But yeah, we look to not bother them as such. We give them, of course, their indication of where they need to be at and reflect their metric data, but it's not a case of just proving our worth all the time. There's no need to do so. Otherwise, it's just detracting from their work, and they're on their phone constantly, so there's no need. Yeah. Any of you guys got any other questions? Anything else about these guys? Because
everyone's got a clear shopping list or action list, and I've not missed anything, so should we just run through it from the top in terms of...
I'll put it all together in a document, man. I'll ping it through for everyone. So what I'll do is I'll put together immediate action items like low-hanging fruits, and then from a supplementation perspective, link to Bloodwork, etc. I've got all of those links already for you guys. I'll put it in a Google Doc. I'll ping it through to Tyler, ping it across. Yeah.
All I'm hearing is consistency.
With of these variables, yeah. And like Tyler was saying also, in terms of introducing these things into your life, it's not difficult to do. It requires a little bit of effort initially, and then continuous moderation of that. That's it. Right, so analysis of sleep metrics, consistency there. It doesn't require you to do more. It requires you to open your phone, look at your metrics. That's it, and then make changes as and when needed. That's it. Right, most people overcomplicate that, overemphasize the amount of effort required. It's just not the case.
Can I grab your thoughts on coffee, please?
Caffeine consumption, I incorporate caffeine consumption, so I drink about 2 coffees per day. But in terms of incorporating it, I don't do it first thing upon waking. It's about 90 minutes post-wake.
Right, so I get it, smash it, so okay, I won't.
Yeah, 90 minutes post-wake. Otherwise, you experience somewhat of a crash in the afternoon.
Before or after the next session?
I personally take it after, when I'm about to dive into my deep work. Yeah, I don't want caffeine into my session, otherwise my heart rate elevates and I feel crap. Yeah. So if you guys have incorporated pre-workout before, I'm sure your elevate skyrocketed and you probably felt pretty crap at some points in your session. I don't want that to be experienced.
Black coffee?
Yeah. For me personally. It doesn't need to be, but for me personally it is, yeah.
Oh, doesn't it?
No, not at all. And then my last coffee is consumed 8 to 10 hours prior to bed, given the half-life of caffeine. Yeah. So again, for me personally, I consume that about midday, no later. Otherwise, again, the half-life is massive.
What are your thoughts on fasting for like days?
I incorporate every month or so, I incorporate a 48-hour fast.
40?
48. Yeah. I've done longer fasts. I've done a 4-day fast before. But yeah.
How was that?
I did it on the way back from Bali, which sucked. Because I was on a plane for 18 hours. So that really sucked. It really tested my willpower for sure. But yeah, it felt okay, man. After day 2 sucked, day 3, day 4 felt fine. Yeah, day 2 sucks though. It feels terrible. But then after that, you feel great.
Yeah, you do.
For sure.
The water, obviously.
Yeah. Anything else you guys would dive into? Anything about these guys specifically in their businesses, or?
Like the consumption amount, because I know like different gurus say 4 liters, others say 5 liters, others say 2 liters. You know, and what's your recommendation?
I think it's just a case of test and response. So if you feel dehydrated, then consume more water. I think most individuals overcomplicate that massively and say it has to be 3 to 4 liters per day. If you're dehydrated, consume more. That's it, as a rule of thumb. There's no set amount for each individual. It depends, of course, on other variables like energy expenditure and just how they process that. That'll be it, effectively. Make sense? Yeah.
Can we find a bit more information? You know Iman, then there was the next chap. Who was that?
Bas. Yeah. So I've actually worked with him since 2019. He was an appointment setter when I the first sales call I had with him, he had 50p in his account, which is crazy. And I was really pissed because he wasted my time on a sales call. And then a month later, he applied and he's doing like 10k per month for appointment setting. And then, yeah, he's just built his business, his education business to $1 million a month. He was operating 2 offers previously. So it was Millionaire Consulting, which taught coaches how to build their education businesses. He got that to like 800k per month. And then there's appointment setting branch of that also, where he placed appointment setters in businesses, which is a B2B component. And then a B2C also, where he trained appointment setters. So my brother's in his program also. But yeah, he's doing about $1 million a month. I was with him in Portugal last week. The picture on the right there, sorry, is us in Portugal. And yeah, he's got 6.5 mil liquid currently after tax.
How old is he?
24. He just turned 24. Yeah, she's done pretty well. He's buying his house outright for 2.5.
Do you ever help clients business-wise as well?
No.
They just all help?
Yeah, no. I get asked a lot of questions about what these guys have incorporated, for sure, because obviously I've worked with them and seen their process from A to B in terms of what they've done to facilitate their success. But from a business perspective, I used to work with fitness coaches to help them build and grow, but most fitness professionals, I was saying to Dan earlier, are pretty incompetent and don't really know what they're doing, so it's pretty difficult to work with them continuously. So yeah.
I was going to say, that it's not goal setting, really. So Bas, so if he was to be specific, before he met you, he was obviously earning a fair amount.
Yeah.
And then after you, then you went push. Is that?
Yeah, and the change in that respect, again, I can't attribute that towards our work together by any means. I'm not going to do so. But no. It's unjust. No, but it's just the opportunity vehicle that he chose, for sure. And we spoke about this at length over dinner last week. He went from appointment setting to running an agency, to running an agency education offer, to then working with other coaches to help them build their businesses. And then now he's building out appointmentsetting.com with a B2B branch and a B2C branch. So appointment setters being someone that's just in your DMs, reaching out to prospects, right? So he trains people on how to do that properly.
Oh, right, so that's so niche.
Yeah. So that.
See someone on Instagram put, DM me the words health if you want help with your health and performance. People reply to that and search health. Then there'll be a team in the Instagram DM saying, hey, thanks for the message.
I was just not boss, it's actually these guys.
Yeah, no, I use an appointment setter. Tyler was speaking about that earlier, I believe. But in terms of what you were saying about reaching out to prospects or engaging with.
So Nicholas, you reaching out to people who follow you on Instagram and just jumping on calls. An appointment setter is just a team member that does that for you. So you can employ someone in your DMs too, whose one job is to reach out to everyone who follows you, everyone who replies to stories, you put some call to action on the stories.
And outbound.
Yeah, doing outbound as well. So
the jobs and ad is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with my ad. When snowboarding, I was an ex-teacher, and just to give you a tiny bit of context. Ex-teacher, went to coaching kids. If you want to do what I do, look at me now, where I am, follow my steps, blah blah blah. You know the story.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that have liked it. So there was someone going, cheers for liking that post, dude. That's awesome. Obviously, I'd like to have my vibe.
Well, yeah, so you'll create kind of a document training, like here's the tone of voice I want to come across, here's the kind of vocabulary I do use and don't use.
As soon as I followed it, straight in the DM.
Oh, dude, I just followed me, Jesse.
Oh yeah, they'll like it.
So, I mean, before we dive into it, it'd be good to dive into like coaching side of things in terms of clients, acquiring clients and whatnot. But just to wrap up on the health stuff, what are the what's the low-hanging fruit? What is like the 1, 2, 3 most important things that just very, very simply could incorporate straight away?
Let's do 3 first. Consistent sleep start and end times, and allow for adequate duration. That's just the basic, and it's the absolute foundation of everything, arguably from a health perspective. Incorporating some form of extended fast in which you complete your deep work, and then of course fats and proteins for your first meal. Let's refer to that as being number 2 variable. And from a perspective of productivity, which isn't necessarily health associated, just limiting your phone use, I think, is arguably one of the key components for most individuals. Again, these guys specifically, I do get access to their screen time as well. Their screen time on average is like 30 to 60 minutes tops. unless of course they're in a really busy phase of building where they're communicating with team, but it's very, very low, whereas most of you guys, I'm sure if you put up your screen time, it'd be a few hours, or most individuals is. They make sure that, again, they're removing that from their environment when they're in deep work or even prior to bed to ensure, again, they're consistent with the things that need to be getting done. It's a key variable for these guys, for sure. Yeah, really basic one, but just something which you guys should all be prioritizing, for sure.
Are you still working, sorry, with Bas, sorry?
Yeah, and his team. So we work with 30 individuals in his team as well. And his dad, weirdly enough.
How do you do it all by yourself then, do you? I mean, come on, you like individuals and then teams.
I work with the individuals, my coach works with the teams.
Right.
So based on my fulfillment systems, he manages that. So of course the numbers, we're working with 50 individuals and teams cumulatively currently. He does all the fulfillment for that. I don't do any of it. So he just does based on my systems, then he reports back to me or I report back to the client, that's it.
You said you like sales force as well to get them to.
It depends. It depends.
How many sales do you have? Are they part of your group or are they freelance or what?
The appointment setter is a salesperson currently as well. They do both. Yeah.
But they don't do the sales calls.
Sorry?
They don't do the sales calls.
It depends. If it's a warm prospect or someone that I know, then I'll take it. If not, then they'll take it. I think that aligns nicely also because as opposed to having to manage two people, the appointment setter and salesperson has the kind of connection between the two. So they do my outbound and inbound, and then also they're aware of the prospects, therefore they can take the sales call, so they've got context. Whereas previously when I managed, I had 2 salespeople and like 3 appointment setters. It was a bit messy and it was causing me irritation, so just dialing that down. And also then the individual that's working for me has a better opportunity to make more money. So I'm paying them commission, they get more money of course, and therefore they see it as being a better opportunity vehicle. So.
I'm just obviously thinking about optimisation as well. It's not just health, it's about time efficiency too. So unless you enjoy doing sales calls, then...
Yeah, again, if I know the individual, if it's a friend of a friend, then I'll take it, just to develop a relationship with them.
I'm just thinking, do I want to be in the business or working on the business? So
Yeah.
My next step would be to get a team to do what I do.
Yeah.
So I can do the bit I actually enjoy.
For sure. Yeah, you can outsource those components. But yeah, like just to go back to Bass's financial success, it's just the opportunity vehicle. And you guys can see here his offer now is referring to helping people escape the 9 to 5 by mastering a high income skill. And that is his appointment setting. So he teaches people how to be appointment setters for education businesses like mine, Tyler's, Alfred's, etc. And then he's referring to their average student success being like 5K per month initially, but they're just going from being broke students or people in a 9 to 5 kind of rat race as such, to then doing stuff online. So they really appreciate that in terms of their benefit. He charges, I think, 8K for that product, and then his B2B offer, where he places appointment setters into a business, he charges 20 to 30K. And then from a perspective of acquisition, so how he acquires his clients, as you guys can see, his social media audience is pretty significant, but that was all facilitated through pay shoutouts. So what he does, do you guys know like the wealth pages on Instagram? You guys aware of them? Yeah, if not, look at it after. All you do is you pay them for a shout out. So they'll post one of his posts here, like the economy is about to collapse, do this now. They'll repost that for like the cost of about $2,000 or something similar to, or maybe up to 10K, it depends on the page and the size of the audience. He acquires those followers, and then his appointment setters then engage with the people that follow him from those pay shout-outs. Make sense? That's how he acquires customers from pay shout-outs specifically. That makes sense for some offers, not for others. So for example, I can't leverage that mechanism of acquisition for my offer, given that individuals like Tyler, you guys example as prospects, won't be engaging with wealth pages because you're not brokies, to use Tate. And therefore you won't be engaging on those like meme pages, etc. But individuals here will do. So for example, for acquisition for a higher ticket product, like my product being 10K, would be primarily through organic and then also through Facebook ads, through a funnel, email list, etc. Yeah? That makes sense? Yeah? Nice. Any of you guys got any questions on that, or is that pretty clear as well?
Here you go.
So,
After you guys go.
I was just going to ask, because like most of these individuals you mentioned are below 30. Do you work with other people like over 30, about 40?
I work with a 65-year-old currently, man. Yeah, Bass's dad's. Yeah, he's getting on a little bit. Yeah, I actually work with 4 of my clients' dads as well. So, yeah, it's funny how that works. We're always like, can you help my dad out? So yeah, do that as well. It's good fun.
When you implement the systems, is not people who kind of just take the information and then implement it and never hear from them again?
No, so I obviously sign contracts with them, so it's 3-month initial term. Most individuals, again, once they've established what the key benefits are or what the key variables are to prioritize, it's just accountability, man. So that's why they work with me for feedback on their metrics and of course accountability purposes also. So that's a human component. That's not knowledge they can withdraw and then just move on from. So yeah, that enables us to work with them. So for example, like Bass, I've worked with for 4 years. Yeah.
And he just keeps doing the same program, or is it like a reduced thing? Because it's like you've kind of done the hard work at the front end and now it's just like a
subscription type?
Yeah, so for most individuals, again, I work with them for 3 months at a time, so that'd be a 10K product. And for individuals I work with for a year, it's 20 to 30 per year for those individuals, given their long-term clients.
Product's the same?
Yeah, pretty much. We make adaptations when needed, but yeah, it's pretty simple variables. There's no value add for me incorporating more stuff. It just detracts from their time, could be applied to other things. So it's just a case of consistency in that respect. Yeah, pretty simple, man, to be fair. Go for it.
Other than the sleep, food and supplements, are there any other common kind of traits, habits that these guys and girls are doing and aren't doing that we might not be doing for?
Do you want to focus on the aren't or are not?
It's probably more are nots than
Yeah, more the are nots. It's more the are nots of the self-sabotaging stuff I referred to at the start. These just guys just don't engage in that behavior, and at all, like even remotely. Which is, at first when I first started working with them, I thought they were all lying to me. But then I've actually worked with the majority of these guys in person in some capacity for extended periods of time now. So for example, like even Dan in Toronto, I spent 2 weeks with him there. These guys are obsessed with this stuff and very anal about being regimented with these components. They don't do anything. To demonstrate the point, it's kind of like it's a bit of a joke really. His girlfriend had a birthday and he took his Kindle to the club with us there. And then he left at 9 PM to be in bed by 10 on his girlfriend's birthday, her 21st, her first year in the city. That's how like obsessive he was about it. And they had like a massive argument about it, I remember, but he was just like, no, this is what needs to be done. It's gonna be Monday tomorrow, I need to get it done. And it's just like, fair play. He's very committed to it, so
like
yeah.
This is it. If you just want to win, like these kind of people that Billy's talking about, they just want to win at all costs, and they want whatever edge they can get.
They see it as like, they see it themselves being as like the top 0.1%, and they want to make sure they actually leverage all capacities they have, or opportunities they have, that's it, and they won't let anything get in their way. I know many individuals that have just thrown away relationships to facilitate that, which you may not agree with. It depends on your humanity, I suppose. But yeah, they've done that because, again, that's how cutthroat they are with things. It depends on who the person is. They don't really care. They just want to facilitate their success with their businesses. Yeah, and those are the guys you're competing with, ultimately.
Yeah, because who makes the most money out of all your clients? Is it the 1 million guy a month?
No, well, individual that I'm confidently aware of, I'd say Cole from his education business. Other individuals are somewhat dubious in terms of their source of funds, or their net worth, etc., which they present to social media could be debated. But yeah, Cole for a fact, I know he's doing 2-3 million a month.
Big massive margin as well, right?
Yeah, crazy margin.
40%.
Crazy margin. But he's switching out all of his paid for organic progressively. So as a result, the margin will be much greater. But like Bass's business, when he's doing $1 million a month, his margin was like 800K. It was insane. It was absolutely nuts. And that takes into account all team costs, everything. It was very, very high profitable business. Yeah.
If you could work with anyone, who would it be?
As a client,
Yeah. Your number one.
biggest names possible. I'd love to work with anyone. Like Jeff Bezos would be sick. That's not going to happen though, but it'd be sick. He's on a bit of a secret sauce, I think it's fair to say. He's on a bit of test. Yeah, no, it's been really cool to get an insight to work with these guys though, because I've seen all nuances of their business. I'm in most of their Slacks, so I get to see how their team communicate as well. Yeah, I won't show them because I was going to, but I won't. But yeah, I get access to most of their team engagement as well, so I see how they manage that, how they communicate, etc., which is really sick. And yeah, again, they're just so committed and focused and dialed in on what they're doing. They know exactly how to facilitate it. Bass's business model isn't complicated. The acquisition channel is really simple. Facebook ads to a funnel, email list. He just leverages direct marketing constantly. His call to actions are frequent every single day. He leverages one long form email in the AM and one long form email in the PM, short form, sorry, which is direct CTA. Yeah.
I do one a week, mate. That's my game.
Yeah, I've got them here. I can show you.
So it'd be good to spend some time diving into the coaching side of things, Billy, and also things that you've learned.
Yeah, for sure.
Guys in the room that want to create kind of a coaching side to their business.
You guys can see that here. These are the email templates he leverages currently. So his copywriter puts together 14 days in a row. These are his long form, which are sent AM, and then the short form, which is sent PM. The short form, really simple and straightforward, is typically like, I'm looking for 5 individuals to work with. That's basically it, just with different wording every single day. He leverages that. He collects about 100 to 150K per month revenue, just from that alone, from his email list. His email list currently is like, I think something crazy, like 20, 30,000. It's pretty high. And again, yeah, he's also got a Facebook group, which is really well populated. So his Facebook group, I believe, is like 10,000 individuals. And he nurtures prospects through there heavily as well.
So she's on 1 million a month. I guess 80,000.
Yeah, because his pay shout-outs don't cost him much. He's only spending like 20 to 30 a month on pay shout-outs, the rest of team costs. Yeah, you can see his community here. So what he does is he drives traffic from Facebook ads through to an opt-in page. He collects their email, and they're driven automatically through to a Facebook group. So if you guys, and obviously, do you guys know of School? Have you guys heard of School, the platform? Yeah. You could drive traffic technically to School as opposed to Facebook, depending on whether or not you think your clients will be using that platform. So I'll test School as opposed to Facebook groups, because I just fucking hate Facebook groups. And I think my clients specifically will be more utilizing School given their education businesses. Makes sense. But yeah, if you're selling B2C, so individuals that it's like a lower ticket price product, then you drive them through to a Facebook group, and he just converts like wild here. He just, again, multiple CTAs every single day, free trainings, and it just converts. That's the way it works for him. Not particularly complex stuff, pretty straightforward, and he just repeats that system. He's not working a huge amount currently. He works, about 3 hours per day currently, not very much. He's got a whole team facilitating service fulfillment. He doesn't do any delivery at all anymore. He's built out the system to facilitate the education products, and then his team do all the fulfillment.
What would you say the team consists of?
He's got one individual that's a co-founder technically, so he pays him, I believe, 25% of revenue.
Yeah.
And then, which is the main cost. And then the team is just predominantly the appointment setters man. So the appointment setters are working for him and also training his clients within that as well. And he can then actually give the appointment setters to the B2B clients. So it's a very good ecosystem. It works brilliantly. Yeah, it's cool. That's us in Portugal on that boat here. That's me there, just looking like a dweeb. The guys there were, it's a really awkward photo. The guys there were paying, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know photos had been taken. That mastermind was, I think it's 50 to 60K a year. And in that room there was 50 people. So do the math on that, it's not bad going.
Where's the maths on that? 50 times 50K?
Millions. Yeah.
It's not bad going.
2.5 mil?
Yeah.
It's pretty decent.
So for the guys in the room that want to kind of create this extra revenue stream, like your business, these guys, Bastiaan, Cole, Iman, myself, Alfred, what are the kind of biggest things you've learned in terms of price point, delivering the offer? I mean, you just touched on, obviously, with Bass, like, one of the big things was to pick the right opportunity vehicle, right? Do you guys kind of understand what I mean, using like the term opportunity vehicle?
So basically how much money you can make from the business. So if you're working as an appointment setter, you can probably make like 10K per month tops. A growth opportunity vehicle is an agency, you can work 10 clients on a retainer of 5K per month and make 50K. That's the difference of the opportunity vehicle. Does that make sense?
So like Dale, with your business, what is the most amount of money based on your offer, the size of the market, and your delivery system currently? Where do you reckon you cap out?
Cap out?
Yeah.
It is. Gosh.
Are you still delivering on each client?
Yeah. So for the kids, I'm in it because I love it. I love that interaction.
So how much do you charge?
For the kids, it's 2,000 for 12 weeks.
And how many kids can you coach at one time?
Yeah, exactly. So I'll probably say so at the moment I've got 24, but I can coach 30. But the good one is.
So that's 60K over 12 weeks, which is
20K a month.
But the best one will be coaching teachers, where they're in part of the program and it's just group coaching every Thursday. That's it, and I charge them 3K. So and that's the maths pretty sure.
Yeah, that's scalable because like you have friend users, no members in there, or 1,000 users. That doesn't make a difference. Still hour of your time or hour and a half of your time to coach.
And I've got an assistant, my customer relations manager. She checks in on them all the time, so I don't have to. It's not really fucking lazy then, but she does all of that.
No, you need to build those systems.
Yeah, that's systems.
Yeah.
It's a business.
Otherwise you won't scale.
3 hours a day.
So that goes.
Bastiaan works 3 hours a day.
Yeah, exactly. So so I think it'd be really cool just to kind of like, I need to check out, the Facebook ad, landing page, funnel system, on my optimisation personally, not being distracted, which is easy. If I want it, then I'll do it.
Yeah. I mean, the paid aspect I briefly covered on as well. It depends on what offer you're operating. You can run paid shout-outs or Facebook ads towards the funnel, email opt-in, etc., which is pretty straightforward. From an organic perspective, are you guys aware of Andrew Kirby? Have you guys heard of Andrew Kirby?
Sure.
Have you guys used School before or not?
I've got school, yeah.
Okay, if you are on School, if you haven't used School before, just sign up to Synthesizer, which is his community. It's free. And you guys can see here as well. Let me pull this down. You guys can see as an example, this is his free group. So I'm going to build out multiple of these. So I'm going to build out one for maybe fitness coaches, which I was testing with previously, and then maybe also moving forward Peak, and which I'll drive traffic to. But this is his free group. You can see it's got 5,000 members. It's nuts, right? So again, this from a prospect pool is huge. All he does is he drives traffic here organically through his YouTube and also through word of mouth. So recently, Hamza, do you guys know Hamza? Tyler and I commented on the same post about this actually in school. Hamza referred to him in a video for 10 minutes, and then as a result, the engagement from this was crazy. I had like 2,000 applications just from Hamza's YouTube video, which he referred to Andrew. But you guys can see from a perspective of acquisition, he refers to his vehicle to facilitate organic growth. So if you guys don't want to just leverage paid, you can obviously leverage organic as well. And this is the vehicle he refers to in simple terms. I broke it down in note form just because I like condensing it in that respect. So you guys can see, of course, the objective of content creation on all mediums, all platforms, is create goodwill at scale. So, for example, I upload onto YouTube once or twice per week. Obviously, I upload short-form content as well. You guys can do the same thing, depending on which platform your ideal client uses. You then drive traffic, obviously through YouTube, maybe a podcast. You guys can leverage that. But again, the time attributed towards a podcast is greater than that of a YouTube video. It may not be great return on investment, so pick one or the other. You repurpose that as clips, TikToks, Reels, and Shorts. Pretty straightforward. And you can use Twitter. You can use a Chrome extension, which is TWEMX, which filters out the profiles of most popular tweets, no matter which profile you check, so you can see what engages well, what doesn't, which is awesome. You then drive traffic through to school. You define the model you sell in school, so you can add educational modules into school. So for example, Dale, you could add in like 5 preview modules in there, which refer to the pillars of your product. You don't help them apply that pillar, necessarily that information, but you give them the foundation as such, yeah? In there for free. You give it away for free, and as a result of that, you then sell the implementation. That's what your coaching product is, pretty simple. You then own the asset, which is great. So as opposed to then having an audience on social media, you now own the asset in school, it's yours, right? So if your Instagram gets deleted, or someone fucks you over, wherever it may be, you own 5,000 members in school, which is awesome, right? You can then leverage the following way of selling to these individuals. So you can leverage broadcast posts, where it's basically a sales letter. So if you guys haven't written a sales letter before, it's basically just like an email newsletter. This is an example of Andrew's here. So you can post that to his community. And the really cool thing about school is specifically, is if you upload into a community as a broadcast post like this, it gets sent through to every individual's email as well. So it's also like an email broadcast simultaneously, so 2 mediums, which is awesome, right? And as a result, as opposed to it being perceived as being spammy or hateful, they've opted into this free group, and therefore they're most likely encouraged by or interested in potentially purchasing, hence why all the comments here are pretty positive, which is really cool as well, as something to note. Let's go back to this. You can also host live trainings, and as a result, all individuals that are attending or want to attend, they get notified in their calendar, which is great, again, so they get warnings of that in advance. You can obviously appointments set through school, so you can actually DM your prospects, because there's a messenger feature. So as opposed to using Instagram to acquire customers, you could use school as well, which is awesome with your appointment set or yourself personally. And then you get an individual to take sales calls. He's got the following product structure, and you guys can implement this with your education business as well, where he refers to one product being the introductory product, which he sells for 5 to 10K. Again, he refers to a year-long time frame. I service clients for 10K for 12 weeks. So it just depends on the price point of the product, the individual you're working with, etc. And then you can obviously upsell them to a mastermind for 20 to 40K per year, or extended variations of products. Like I work with teams as opposed to necessarily working with individuals for mastermind products. Yeah, so I work with 30 individuals at a time, etc. And then, the 4-person team is really simple. You're the founder, so you create content, you post insights to your community, you run the mastermind, you run the coaching products, you create broadcast posts, and you host live webinars. You have a sales rep who takes your sales calls and manages your appointment setting. You then do content creation, and you get an individual like this guy here I've referenced. He's a kid that DM'd me. He's 18. He does all the short form content. He does it 30 for 300 quid, so it's pretty good. And then you have a coach to facilitate your service delivery, like I have Mikhail here, as you guys can see. So that's just the organic aspect. It's really simple and straightforward, and then you can apply paid on top of that as well. Again, depends on the acquisition channel. You can leverage pay shout-outs, Facebook ads, even YouTube ads, etc., which I'm sure James will touch on as well. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward, really.
That's epic.
Yeah, I think people make it way too overcomplicated.
Are you able to send that across?
Yeah, sure, man. Yeah. I definitely encourage you guys to join Synthesizer, his group. By the way, none of the stuff I've referred to, I'm not affiliated to any of it, by the way, just the context. But yeah, I met him in Portugal at Bass's thing. And he did know his shit, to be fair. And me and Tyler have spoken to him before as well, but he's never actually met up with us yet, the dick. But no, he's a cool guy. He knows what he's doing. He's selling his, he runs an offer where he builds people's YouTubes. Currently, he's selling that for 100K, which is crazy. So yeah, Bass has paid him 100K to build his YouTube. He's just started it, man.
He's a big YouTuber.
Yeah, he's got like nearly 2.
What has he done himself so far?
Say again?
What has he done himself so far to command that 100K?
Like 600K subscribers.
I think more than that. I think it's near a mil. Yeah, so he really doubled down on like whole kind of like stoic thing at one point, like 2019, when it was really doing very well. He actually consulted Alex on his YouTube before Alex started building his YouTube, which is pretty sick. He's got the looms, like you can actually watch the looms back. So unless he's just blatantly lying to my face, he actually has done that. But yeah, you guys can see like his most popular videos got like 2 mil views, 3.9, which is pretty sick. So from that product alone, which is an anti-procrastination product, he did over $1 million in sales. And that's why he now claims himself to be financially free. And obviously he now knows how to sell through YouTube specifically. So I remember coming across him in 2019 and being very curious as to why he didn't have YouTube, Instagram or anything like that. He was doing no outbound, no inbound appointment setting, nothing like this. Yeah, it was literally just YouTube that he drove all his traffic from. And then maybe potentially paid ads. But he had an opt-in page and email list, so he's converting through that because school hadn't been created yet. But yeah, it's pretty good going. He's 23, so he's done pretty well from his education business. Yeah, it's cool. Anything else? You guys all good?
Yeah, let's wrap up there then.
Yeah, sweet.